lab of GAN. This is the week of generative adversarial networks. In this workshop, I've been trying in many ways to compensate for the fact that I can't see your faces. I'm usually a very interactive person, and most of you have been in my classroom, and you know that I don't look at the board. I instead look at people and talk. And I know when people are understanding and not understanding. So it's a very interactive process. Not having that interactive process means that I have to find ways to compensate, get some feedback or something like that. And it's unfortunate that I can't see into your eyes and tell whether you got it or not. So I supplemented this course with these quizzes and these extra sessions and help sessions and so forth. I hope they are proving useful. I'll send you guys a survey. You can let me know the relative usefulness of these things, because it does take some effort to create these collaterals. But it's been fun. You guys are see, it's a good batch we have. And my hope is that whatever your individual goals are, to apply deep learning to your workplace, existing job, to become an entrepreneur and apply to some new ideas, or to change job, or whatever your goals are. Now is a good time. I hope I can take you towards that. My time frame was that by early Jan, if you're looking for a shift, smaller, big shift, you should be ready. Many of you have been taking this with me since summer, when we started the ML 100, 200 journey. We have taken almost everything. The one thing that we missed this year was the mathematics of data science. And I can see that effect as I was explaining in this class. People would ask, could you explain this again, and things like that. And so there's a little bit of a difference when people have taken the math of data science and if people have not taken. This is perhaps the first batch that will go out from support vectors that has not taken the math of data science. We would have run out of time by end of this year. Why did we not do the math of data science? We didn't get enough enrollment, as many of you know. We didn't reach a quorum. So be that as it may, try to compensate for it. In the class resource portal, I have put a link to the book, The Math of Data Science, and it's a wonderful book. The author has very generously made the entire book freely available as a PDF. What I would suggest is, the book is certainly, I have a basic rule. If I like a book, and especially if the author has made it freely available as a PDF, I sort of reward that behavior by promptly going and buying a hard copy version of the book if it is available, or at least a paperback copy. Right? Because I feel that it takes a tremendous amount of effort to create these notes and these books, far more effort than it takes to just read a book. And great books should be treated with reverence. So the books that I have referred you to in this workshop, the ISLR, the deep learning book, and the other books, and these lab books, they are all very good. And when people produce them, when they write them, they have given a part of their life to do that. Not only they are just pouring their knowledge, the world is filled with people who are extremely knowledgeable. You see them around in your workplace every day, right? So geniuses in Silicon Valley are as common as dirt. Right? But the willingness to share and the ability to share with clarity is a much more rare quality. So my own, and this is a little bit of a personal reflection, whenever I see a book that is well written, I invariably treat it as a gem and acquire it. That makes me a little bit of a hoarder of books. I am a bit of a bookworm, but it's worth it. Now, the books that I referred to you in this workshop, a deep learning textbook and the two lab books, I don't know if you are making progress with these books, guys. Please do make progress. Huh? I haven't been pointing out that go read chapter this, that, because you guys are all grown-ups. You can relate what I have taught you in the lectures and then review it from the books. So one feedback I wanted to give you is, those of you who are reading the book, are you finding it easier to read the main textbook after the sessions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Asif. Yeah, it is much more easier.
It gets easier, right?
Better
If
we
you have some doubts in the book time with me, I'll explain it to you. Right? You can say this page I don't understand, and I'll be happy to explain that page to you.
There are like a lot more pages like which can need like little bit more explanation. I can share the page numbers later.
Yeah, sure. So long as it is what we, in the scope of what we covered, I'll be happy to explain that. That book is a little abstract, it is indeed. But once you see, if you read, it is not a book like many textbooks. It is written to exactitude and perfection in some sense. Statements are well thought out, correct, absolutely correct. And it is a senior researcher talking to other senior researchers explaining it. So from a pedagogical perspective or from a learning perspective, something is lacking. I mean, the whole idea is that textbooks are usually coupled with people who can teach you and they guide you through the textbook, which I suppose was my purpose. This workshop is that, it takes you through that. But it is important, guys, that you make progress through the textbook. There are very, very few people who have actually done the entire textbook. Right? Because these days it is so easy to pick up 10 lines of Python and claim you're a deep learning expert. It is much harder to learn these things properly. And right from the beginning, all of you have been with me, and I keep emphasizing that I not only care about the coding, I also care about understanding it. Because these coding libraries will come and go. I guarantee you 10 years later, there won't be any PyTorch, right? Or may not be TensorFlow, PyTorch. I mean, they may be there, but I'm sure something else would come up and something else would come up. And newer libraries, they mushroom, like they seem to be growing like mushrooms. There is so much creativity in the field. But the one thing that never changes is mathematics. There's an eternal quality to mathematics, you know. The Pythagoras theorem is as much true today, once proven, as it was true when Pythagoras proved it. So, and to the extent that deep learning is nothing but applied math, it's very simple mathematics. It is the mathematics of basic statistics, probability, uh, linear algebra, that is playing around with matrices and multiplying matrices, and a bit of calculus, right? And mostly differential calculus and so forth. So it's not a very hard subject. It's a very limited part of applied mathematics. For example, in much of deep learning, in reading, at least in reading the research paper, etc., you are not solving partial differential equations, right? With boundary conditions and things like that. So it is nothing like that. Today, Shankar is not, but he used to solve the ocean dynamic equations. Right? Those are hard, and in fact, analytically unsolvable. But we are in a domain that is relatively straightforward once we get used to the lingo. Therefore, I would strongly suggest read the book, guys. The second thing is do the labs. Now, lab, in a way, I've been deliberately very soft in the first part of the lab because given time, given the fact that you guys have day jobs, you have to sleep, you have to socialize, give time to your family. And here in this workshop itself, there is a trade-off between understanding the concepts and uh, becoming very fluent with the coding. Time is limited, and I knew that people they have reached out to me and say, I'm not getting time for both. In part one, we did labs, but it was sort of, the emphasis wasn't getting the fundamentals in place. We are going to change that now. It is, if you have reached this far, and if you have been reading the textbook, you are strong now with the field, or at least, let's put it this way, you're stronger now than before, and fundamentally you have an idea of the field. At this moment, the point or the thing that is probably needing most attention is practice. Part two and part three will focus on multiple areas. They'll focus a lot on transformers. Transformers are great to read about in all those papers, great to see the magic happen. But can you solve a problem in small groups for which it is not an academic problem, it is not cookie cutter, it is not something that you'll find on Kaggle. But if I give you guys a problem with words, and I will give you guys some records, some things, and I will ask you to do text classification. I'll ask you to do text summarization. I'll ask you to do study many aspects of it, readability, look for hate speech in it, and many things. These are things that, for example, I do in my day-to-day life. So I would like to bring day-to-day experience to bear upon, or give you guys a window on what happens in day-to-day life in machine learning, in deep learning. Yeah? So what I would like to do is I'll give you guys some, little bit of a warm-up problems and labs to do, but then I would give you longer labs in which it is open-ended. Do it in small groups. Do it alone if you wish, if you have the bandwidth, but do it. And as we make progress, solve that. You would be breaking new grounds. I'll deliberately give you some data sets that have never been explored before. And I'll craft a problem in such a way in which even I would not know whether you'll succeed or not. Would you guys like that sort of challenge?
Yes, Asif.
Yes, Asif.
Yeah,
So
that'll be good, Asif. Yeah.
That is, yeah. And it's very confidence building when you solve a problem nobody has solved. You move the needle forward. It's not just an academic data set, let's say, um, one of these data sets, but to be very real world centered. So, and there is also a standing principle, as you know, in these workshops. Bring your own data. You are working. One easy way to save time is, why not have overlaps? Talk to your employer. If the data is sufficiently non-proprietary, for example, it's a general research data, then with the proper non-disclosure agreements and so on and so forth, you can include your team members. Right? And I'll be happy to guide you through, also sign your NDAs. People have done that quite in the past, quite often with me. So I'll respect the NDA and sign the legal document. And then that will give me, allow me visibility to the data. And then of course, I wouldn't work on the project, you guys will work, but I'll certainly guide you. So the bring your own data, BYOD, is certainly on the table. Bring your domains data so that you, in the course between now and January, you solve a real problem for your workplace. Or any other data. Kaggle has 35,000 data and growing, data sets and growing. Most of them are untouched, right? Because if you look at the learning curve, most people learn or analyze those data sets, the majority of them, not all of them. They do it as a pedagogical exercise. They want to create notebooks, they want to show it, they want to get a job, and then they hope to get real data in the workplace. What I'm saying is that let's not do such shallow learning. Let's take some non-trivial data sets. I'll guide you through and we'll do that. So we will start now after this break. We have a 1 week break. After that, we'll start. We will start with two sort of projects. One is longer term for you to think. It is a lung cancer data. It is to do with computer vision, and it is a continuation of some of the things we're talking today. But the other is natural language processing. We will first do natural language processing, and a lot of it. Right? You will go very deep into the transformer, using the transformer, not so much at this moment of the theory. You all know the theory. Actually, transformers, when I explained it to you, I explained it does this and it does that and so on and so forth. To a certain level, we understand, but actually we don't understand truly, deeply, in an analytical equation manner, mathematical manner, the dynamics of these transformers or any sufficiently rich neural networks, we really don't understand. There is a lot of research that is happening to create better understanding, interpretability to it. See if we can write it as equations, see if we can figure out the dynamics. It's one of the things that will recur when we do it. We'll look at saliency, we'll look at interpretability, and there are many things. Sometimes to interpret a complicated model, you build a model that predicts the behavior of this model. You build a meta model, right? And that is more interpretable. And you do all sorts of interesting games with that. We will do that in this workshop. We'll do language translations. We will do, for example, we will take specific sounds and we will see whether a CNN can detect or a very rare sound, a very specific sound, and distinguish it from other sounds and things like that. Right? So we'll do some very good labs. So the exciting things going forward are not more neural architectures. For the duration of this workshop, I think we have done enough. There are only two more concepts, one more concept actually, well, let's say two, that I'll bring back. At some point, I'll introduce them, but they're smaller ones. They are autoencoders, and there are many kinds of autoencoders. In particular, we'll learn about basic autoencoders and then variational autoencoders. We'll learn about restricted Boltzmann machines, which have a lot of applicability. But besides these two new concepts, broadly, we are done with concepts. We are done with fundamentals. Time is now, and the fun is now in lab work. So be mentally ready for more fun labs. You know? So towards that, make sure that you understand the code that I've given you. Read it line by line. If you get stuck, ask me. Become very familiar with the PyTorch loop. See, PyTorch is very straightforward. You build a neural net. What do? You subclass the module class, right? It has a init and it has a forward. If you don't really care about debugging specifically line by line, you can create it the Keras style. You know, you can create nn.sequential, and in the constructor of the in that function, sequential function itself, you can layer out, a separated list of all your layers, linear, followed by ReLU activation, followed by batch normalization, followed by dropouts, again followed by the next layer linear, and so on and so forth. You can do it in a single line now. So that being as it is, it will become very familiar to you, and make sure it does. See, if you read the code and it looks like I have to sit and understand it, it means you are not familiar with it enough. By now, if you go and look at the various classes I created, you will see that they follow a pattern. It's a pretty common pattern I follow, but each of them will have small variations and things like that. It is representative of the industry. You create a neural architecture, but once you figure out how to create a neural architecture and you understand the theory, it is a matter of just doing it. Like, for example, GAN theory is very subtle and interesting, right? It's fun to figure out how GANs work. But once you have figured out, you see that you bring that theory back to code, and the code makes a lot of sense then, isn't it? In fact, code looks like the most logical way to lay out that theory. So that thing we need to do. You folks, please take this week. And I will be available during this break to help you guys. This Saturday, we will, especially in particular, is a remediation day. Please reach out to me. We'll start with the quiz reviews. Multiple quiz reviews are pending. We will do all of those quiz reviews. I will be releasing the GAN quiz today. Let's do the GAN quiz, along with the previous quiz, convolutions quiz, and the transformer quiz. So we'll spend a few hours doing that. Maybe we'll take a break, and then after that, we'll have the one-on-one sessions to help you guys, whatever lab issues you're having. And take help from each other. So for example, Harini, the Colab, just 2 lines that I gave with the Colab to upgrade Python to Python 3.8. She has it running successfully. Right. So if your Colab notebook is not working, all you have to do is reach out to her, right? And just take her help, or just wait for my help. But if you wait for my help, it will be on Saturday because I stay busy during the weekdays. If you take her help, she'll help you right away. Isn't it, Harini?
Sure, sir.
Nice. And thank you for that. And also, it is a time when I want to start the practice of presenting your notebooks. So this is what we'll do in lab 2, in the part 2, part 3. But I would like to initiate it. Harini has also been doing an internship with me, and she has created a notebook on breast cancer, patterned after our notebooks that we have, the California dataset that we covered in the past. So, and she has done a very good job. So I would like her to be the first participant to have a presentation session on that. So we'll fix a time. I was thinking this Saturday, but maybe this Saturday is getting very crowded. We can do this Sunday or maybe next Sunday or one of these days, next Saturday. One of these days we should pick. Maybe next Sunday because I am not planning to present a paper next Sunday. I'm presenting GAN this weekend. So would you like to take next Sunday, Harini?
Yes, sir, that's
I can't hear you.
that will be okay next Sunday.
Nice, next Sunday. And guys, the rest, if you have any things to present, we should get into a cycle in which every week there is a presentation from at least one participant. It helps. Collaborative learning helps. Right? So that is our roadmap going forward. Right? I will send you guys a survey. This is, as you know, in the Western Hemisphere, in the US, it is customary to end courses with surveys. I know that you guys are busy and surveys are everybody hates filling out surveys, but you can help this workshop. You can help the next generation of students who come, next batch of students who come next year by giving your feedback on this workshop, part 1, right? Which was much more about fundamental ideas. So please do fill out that survey, I would say. The other bookkeeping thing is I haven't yet created the registration page. I will create the registration page for part 2, right? And part 3. So you guys, when I post it on Slack, then you guys can all go register for that. And the moment you register, there is another course portal for part 2. This course portal that you guys are logged into, it is for part 1, deep learning fundamentals. Now part 2 course page is ready. If you want to get an early head start, then you can register and then you'll get access to that and you can continue on from there. Right? You can try to do some early reading.
As if when the part 2 course page comes up, what will be the user experience for folks who are looking at part 1 and part 2? Will that be a union or there'll be two different?
No, it is not, because there are people who only are doing part 1. So unless they register for part 2, they'll forever have access to this page, but they won't have access to the next page. Now, in your case and a few others, there are about half a dozen people or more who have registered for all 3 at one go. So there, you obviously right away will have access to part 2.
Okay.
That's that. And part 2 is more practical, practice focused, guys. More practice focused. We'll go deeper into theories, but much more will focus on practice.
Asif, so when we did the boot camp last year, so like we could do the time series data. That time we said like because we ran out of time, and we had to choose that like whether the time series can be done. And that time it was recommended that when we have the next time, we have the course, will include that. So can we have that as a like 1 week session?
Certainly.
This time, instead of being an optional like 1 week dedicated to the time series using whichever approach you want to do, like the non-deep learning, deep learning, yeah, like combination of both.
Yes, time series is certainly a part of this series.
Yeah, because for enterprises, that is where like the lot of values will come. For the commercial businesses, yes, like images and NLP, yes, but for enterprises, like still like you have like lot of structure and the time series data.
We have it, and if you want to do some early reading and getting ready for it, so that when we do the class, we can move a little bit forward. One of the things I'm thinking is, now I'll give you a visibility. I mean, obviously, this time it was all fundamentals, so we all knew what we are going to do. CNNs, RNNs, transformers, GANs, right? But in the next one, you guys will have visibility at least a couple of weeks in advance of what's coming. So time series in particular, for example, if you know your Fourier transform and what does a Fourier transform do, at some point, all of you must have studied it. What is a Fourier transform? We can go back and look into it. Time series analysis has multiple approaches. One is in the time domain, one is in the frequency domain, And of course, then comes deep neural network and the whole game becomes more complicated. But you can do some early readiness by understanding those things, the Fourier transforms and so forth. You guys must have done Fourier transform at some point. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, actually, I have not done, like, I didn't study electronics, so I didn't do signals of Fourier transform.
Oh, okay. Anybody who has done it?
It was a while back.
Yeah. Fourier transforms are very easy. It is one of those, see, there are this bunch of integrals, Fourier transform, Laplace transform. They are mathematical lenses, you know, they are ways of fishing out. Imagine that you have a way of looking at a lake with polarized glasses. You start seeing into the lake. You see the pebbles and the fishes in the water. But if you don't put on those glasses, all you see is reflection of sunlight, the shimmering sunlight, isn't it? So these transforms are very magical sort of colored glasses, polarized glasses you can wear. And the moment you do that, what happens is that you're looking at a signal, you're looking at any time series data, and it begins to reveal its periodicity, its patterns, its driving frequencies behind it. And the fact that it can do that is absolutely amazing. That's what Fourier transforms does. It also gives you a visibility into the energies behind it, the power, the spectral energy in the wave, in the pattern that is there. And what is even more remarkable, that when you extend the idea to Laplace transform, it gives you the attenuation also. How is the whole system, the wave pattern over time, not only has periodicity, but it is showing the appropriate decays and so forth. So to be able to just fish it out is almost like, and those transforms are very simple. It's just an integral. You take a function, multiply it with another function, a probe, right? And when you multiply it by a probe and then you sort of add over or integral over it, suddenly it probes the entire data and extracts these meaningful harmonics out of it. And it's just amazing to see these harmonics and energies spill out of it. With something so simple, and it's a magical power of mathematics. Actually, most of mathematics is frankly elementary. Right? Once you get used to it, or as mathematicians call it, they say that everything in mathematics is trivial. The point is to reach the point at which you can see that it is trivial.
So is there a book you can recommend for this, like to get an early start, or some research paper we can look at?
See, there are only two books that I would suggest. One is The Mathematics of Data Science. It's there freely on our course portal. I really mean it. It's a wonderful book. Print it out, read it. I can't overemphasize. That book has recently been published. Before that, the book that I used to recommend, and I still recommend, was my own engineering. It was the textbook that I went through in college. It is the Erwin Krayzik's Advanced Engineering Mathematics. Many of you have taken the workshop with me on that in engineering math. If you want, I can post the link to Erwin Krayzik also, Advanced Engineering Mathematics. The book is prohibitively expensive. It's like $200 or something like that. But the good news is that math is eternal. So there is no difference between the 10th edition and the 9th edition and the 8th or the 7th edition. The only things that change are some examples or something, minor changes. So you can go and get the earlier versions of the book, and those versions are available for like $9, $7, $10. It's a massive book. You're weighing in at no less than 1,200 pages or something like that. But each chapter is self-contained. So if you go and look at the chapter on Fourier transforms or the chapter on Laplace transforms, they are pretty self-contained and very well done. The other thing that I could suggest is the 3 blue, 1 brown portal that I've given a reference to in our course portal. That YouTube channel is just absolutely excellent. Their explanation of Fourier transform is just absolute gold. Just go and watch that 15-minute video. You will learn the intuition of Fourier transform right away. That is very good. And they also have a video on the Laplace, if I remember right. But the Fourier they have explained very, very well.
Yeah, I have watched that. That's really good.
It's really
And
good.
in general, the linear algebra is also, I mean, it's
Oh, yes.
really, really good.
They have put tremendous amount of energies in doing it. Obviously, now I hear that they are very well funded for all of this work, and there's a pretty substantive team helping make all those videos. It's a great thing. I mean, I wish I could do. I had the time or the ability to create such wonderful visualizations.
Asif, do we have a like syllabus for part 2 and part 3?
Yes, so I can mention that here verbally. We'll do a lot of natural language processing. We'll do computer vision. When I go into computer vision, though, the difference would be, Praveen, is that this is lightweight computer vision. It's completely focused on deep learning because we are doing a deep learning workshop. Right? See, computer vision, when you take, like with graduate school level, you take, there is a lot of mathematical theory there. I won't be covering that. As I mentioned before, if there is enough interest, I will be happy to give a workshop on computer vision and deep learning together, in which we go very deeply into computer vision. But computer vision is a deep well of knowledge, very much like deep learning in its own right.
Mm.
And people who just do computer vision without knowing computer vision, just by applying CNNs, they actually hit a wall. They don't go further. Because if all you have to do is apply a CNN, there's an army of 1 million people who can write the same 30 lines of Python code. Right? So it doesn't help. You have to know, as you know, and you went and took the computer vision course, right? With
Yeah, I'm doing the OpenCV course.
yes, OpenCV course. Yes, that is an excellent coursework. So so when we do it, we'll do it along those lines. So we'll see how many people are interested, but we'll do computer vision anyway. So a lot of natural language processing, computer vision. We'll do DADs, deep anomaly detectives.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big topic. We'll do graph neural networks, which unfortunately I didn't cover in part 1. I was hoping I'll give you guys a taste of it, but I couldn't. Then we'll do time series. There's one more topic we'll do. So I did computer vision, natural language processing, anomaly detection, time series.
And then XAI.
Yes, explainable AI. That's a big thing. I'll do explainable AI. Because it is not just fluff. It is a lot of very interesting and emerging cutting edge algorithms on how you can get a sense or interpretability out of deep learning. So those are your 5 topics, guys.
So Asif, each part 2 and 3 will be 6 weeks each?
There'll be 6 weeks each.
And the timings will be same, right? As if Monday and Wednesday?
Absolutely the same, guys. And I mean, maybe somebody will want to join the second part, the third part who hasn't joined the previous one. There may be occasional 1 or 2 people. And by all means, bring your friends if they are interested in natural language processing. We'll start with NLP first. Huh? The topic that we'll take up is NLP, text processing. So if there's anybody interested, he is welcome. But for you guys, the thing is, you guys, we are following exactly the same patterns in summer, Monday, Wednesday. So we'll continue to follow that pattern. We'll continue to have the quiz. We'll continue to have the paper reading. Nothing will change. We're just taking a 1-week break. And if you guys feel you don't need a break, we can skip it entirely. What do you say?
I think a week break is good. Need to be ready for the election.
Okay.
Asif,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, are there any external certifications that your exams or something?
Oh, I will be. I've been remiss actually. I'm still yet to send out the ML200 certificate. I will be giving you a nice, beautiful certificate. Right? But more to the external certificate. And by the way, I was pleasantly surprised. Some people have put the support vector certificate on their LinkedIn. And recently I heard chatter. Some recruiter was saying that he didn't know that support vectors is something I'm associated with. He was talking about certificates. And then he says, yes, we get candidates from support vectors who have the certificates. I think they are good. Right? So it doesn't mean much. Maybe it's just one guy saying, but for what it is worth, maybe the certificate is beginning to gain some traction.
Hey, that's good. The brand is building.
Yes, gradually the brand is building. Yes. And I don't give it to people easily. They have to take the whole workshop. So I will be giving it to you guys. It will have the elephant with the balloon on it. That's all I have, guys. So thank you for being part of this workshop. We are at the end of it. Remember, we are not done with the week. I'll release the quiz tomorrow. Please take time to do the quizzes. Guys, we are all busy people. We are all parents and we are all breadwinners. Life will never have time, however much you may hope. The future always seems as though it's empty and we can do things in the future. But, new things come and crowd the day. So you have to take time right now, review the book, do the labs, do the quizzes, and we'll discuss the quizzes on Saturday. And we'll do all the lab remediations also on Saturday. Sunday, we'll do the paper reading and we'll end the week then. 6 weeks will be over. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, one thing, Asif, after your course, right? So if you go online and check for any blog or video, right, it will be much easier. Right?
Yes, you're finding them much easier.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos comparing like active functions, right? All those stuff are like pretty hard, even for Andrew Nig, right? So
Yeah.
directly, it's first time it's very difficult to understand. Once after your course, right? So all those things, I find it very easy.
Nice. Is there anybody in the class who feels that we went too fast? We need to really slow down.
I think the week break will help us catch up on labs. At least that's where I'm behind. But I got my GPU working finally.
Oh, that's very nice.
It was quite the Linux adventure.
And is there anybody in the class who feels we went too slow? That we were excessively slow or something? So anyway, you won't speak up publicly. In the survey, you can express those opinions. I would like to know if there are polar views like that. Because if it is too slow, I can challenge you with more interesting and more labs and more interesting labs that you can do along the way.
No, I think Asif, you are a right speed. So
Nice. Yes, because the amount of material we are doing, even this should have been a little bit of a stretch. If you're actually reading the book, you'll realize that in every week we cover large sections of the book. These are pretty big areas of the book we have covered. In fact, part 1 of the book is over. The book isn't part 1 and part 2, the textbook. Part 1, if you realize, is over. We have covered just about everything there.
Are we going to go over the later parts in the next workshops?
Come again? At the later parts, yes, certainly. Autoencoders and restricted Boltzmann machine are certainly there. And that book is an excellent book, but it's slightly dated because this field is moving so fast that things have come about after that. Many, many things have come about after the book was written. And obviously those researchers are great people. I don't think they'll get time to update the book. If they do, it will be a wonderful, wonderful gift. But yeah, we'll do more than that book. All right, guys, that's all I have for today.